Okay, here's our real world situation we get to use with factoring polynomials. We've got Alani. Alani is in charge of marketing for a travel company. She's designing a brochure that will have 6 photos. The photos can be arranged on the page in a number of ways. So if we look at the photos, we can see that we've got some bigger photos. We have 2 of those, and they are square with a side length of x. So what that means is they are x by x. Same thing down here. This one is x by x. Then we've got these narrow photos. She's got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them that are each 1 inch by x inches. So remember, x inches is this measurement, the vertical measurement right there, and then by 1. And there's 1. We've got x inches by 1. So what is the total area of the photos? If we were to write this out in words, what they're asking for is total area. That's going to be equal to the area of the square photos plus the area of the narrow photos. Okay, so total area equals area of the square photos. Well, she has 2 square photos. So it's going to be 2 times, and the area of the square photos, the dimensions are x by x, so we're going to multiply x times x, and we get x squared for the area of one of those square photos. She has 2 of them, so we're multiplying by 2. Plus area of the narrow photos. Well, she has 1, 2, 3, 4 narrow photos. So 4 times the area, and the area is going to be 1 unit times x units. X times 1 is x. And so the area of each of those narrow photos is x. If we multiply this out, we get 2 times x squared, which is 2x squared. 4 times x is 4x. So the total area is equal to 2x squared plus 4x. We are in inches, and we will put a squared on that label because this is an area measurement. All right, so part B, find a rectangular arrangement for the photos. What factoring represents the arrangement? So we can see that the photos are arranged in a rectangular arrangement. They are kind of forming one long rectangle here. The arrangement has a height of x, because that's that length of that square. And then the length is we have x, these are all 1 inch long. So that total length is x plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is 2x plus 4. So when they ask what factoring represents the arrangement, we're just going to write the area in factored form. We have an x times a 2x plus 4. And then let's just make a note that is factored form. All right, well, great. We're looking at different arrangements, different ways to represent the area. Part C, factor out the GCF from the polynomial. So the polynomial that they're referencing here is going to be the total area that we found before, the 2x squared plus 4x. So there's our polynomial. Factor out the GCF, which means let's identify the GCF first. So look at your coefficients, 2 and 4. Focus on the smaller one. Does 2 fit into 4? If it does, then 2 is part of your GCF. Do both terms have x's? They do. So we'll have an x in our GCF. Look at the smallest number of x's. This is an x to the first. This is an x squared, so they both have an x to the first in common, so our GCF is a 2x. They want us to factor this out, so we're going to factor a 2x out of both terms, and then we're going to write our GCF down, put a parenthesis after, and then do that factoring. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, x squared divided by x is x to the first power, and then we have a 4 divided by 2 is a positive 2. And then the x divided by x will cancel. So factor out the GCF, that's what we did. What does the GCF represent in the situation? So the GCF represents the height of one possible arrangement of the photos. And we're seeing that arrangement right here. If the height is represented by 2x, that's this right here. Oh, I guess we didn't write that in. Let's see. Here's our 2x, and then the other dimension was x plus 2. So here's an x, and then there's our units of 1 inch, 1 inch. So that's with the 2x and the x plus 2. So the 2x represents the height of one possible arrangement. All right, which of these two arrangements is a more practical use of the space on a page of the brochure? So the arrangement based on the GCF is more practical because the arrangement with all the photos in one line will likely be too wide for a page. So just to remind you, we had this arrangement right here, which looked like x times 2x plus 4. This is not as practical because there's a good chance it's not going to fit on one page because of how wide it is. And so when they said which arrangement is more practical, the one with the GCF, the 2x times x plus 2, that one is more practical because the other one probably won't fit on the page.